morning and welcome to Mental Health Matters with me, Dr. Audrey Tang. My co-host is Judith Crosier, and this is the show where we take a deep dive into all things mental health and well-being. Today's guest, Sandra Stein, is the founder of SAS Counselling, and today's topic is about counselling, but notably Gestalt Therapy. Let's head over to the main studio. We are absolutely delighted to have Sandra Stein on the show with us today to discuss therapy, but in particular, Gestalt Therapy. Welcome to the show, Sandra.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's really great to talk to you. And for those of us who don't know your career journey, do you mind sharing that with us, but also telling us a little bit about Gestalt Therapy? Because most of us kind of know CBT, but haven't really heard of Gestalt.
Right, okay. So a bit of my own career. I have been practicing as a clinical private therapist for the past 3 years. I worked a little bit with a hospital with recovery, addiction recovery, which have facilitated groups that dealt with substance abuse, eating disorder, sex addiction, porn addiction, and it was a very, very rich opportunity and experience. Now I am carry on with my private practice. I do a lot of contents on the internet because I want to share how people can live a better life and a healthier mental and emotional life as much as I can. And I know therapy can be unaffordable for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I also facilitate some well-being groups and programs in corporations.
Fantastic. That's so fascinating. And now with regards to your area of expertise, which is Gestalt, that's not as known to everybody. Can you tell us what's so special about it? Because I know it's a particularly powerful type of therapy.
It is. And I was drawn to Gestalt when I was researching what kind of school of thought I wanted to learn to then become a counselor. And Gestalt was more attractive to me because it has this approach of exploring a whole person, yes. Your whole being. It's not just your past, it's not just yourself, but also the relationship between yourself and the environment.
Yes.
So, because that's how we live. We don't live in isolation. We live with other people, and we go through life, through different moments in life, and it's a journey. So Gestalt opens up to receive that and to welcome you as who you are, how you are, and also to invite you to explore the parts of yourself, the little parts that make your whole being. And some of these parts, we don't want to look at them. We have ignored them. We have neglected them. And I think that's the most powerful thing about the methodology of Gestalt, because it is humanistic and existential.
Yes. And in what I've read about Gestalt therapy, what I find, which I really love about it, is they talk about, you talk about how sometimes you have an emotion, whereabouts do you feel it? It's a connection of body and mind. And so the next question is, why might Gestalt work in a way that perhaps CBT doesn't? But I can also begin to see it already that with CBT, because it's all about your thought process, you can almost make up your own narrative and ignore actually what your body's trying to tell you. So why can Gestalt be so much more powerful than something like CBT, for example?
Well, it's the somatic part of it, which is one of the hallmarks of Gestalt. If you think a little bit about trauma work, just to inform what I'm going to develop here, is that what you can't cognitively make sense or even remember, if you let your body to be an instrument to guide you, to remind you, or to be a vessel to be this source of information of what you can make sense or what you can remember. So in practicality, well, in a session, it's quite a beautiful thing that you see me as a counselor happening in front of me, which is the awareness of something that a client had no idea or had forgotten. but the body remembers, and then tears, flows down, and it's just beautiful, and it's, as you said, very powerful.
That's just the word I was thinking, powerful. It sounds incredible, actually. So what kind of issues might Gestalt be used for and suitable for?
I think Gestalt is suitable, and I find suitable for all mental disturbances, all mental psychological distresses, because I have now had more than 1,000 clients, and all with different backgrounds, different presentations, different cultures, and I seemed to be able to use Gestalt wonderfully with all of them. So trauma work, addiction, eating disorder, more strongly so in relationships, family relationships. So haven't found yet a particular thing that Gestalt can't touch efficiently.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really great. And in terms of therapy, how might a session go? How might you explain it to somebody who's not really used to having therapy or exploring different therapies?
Right. It's a good question, because the somatic work, working with your body, it's something that you have to grade it really well. A counselor must be very sensitive to what the client can take or not, because some people have been desensitized to their body for a good reason.
Yes.
For such a long time. So you can't sit with this type of person, for example, and say, all right, let's go to your body. That would be counterproductive and be even re-traumatizing for the client.
Wow, interesting. Yeah.
I would say me, for example, I'm very relational, and that is a strong quality of Gestalt. It's the person to person, the two people meet at the same level. So my experience with first time with clients is that the clients feel very comfortable in a Gestalt session, welcomed and encouraged to just be what they don't have the courage to be outside that room, what they don't feel safe to be outside that room. So I would say it's a very inviting and hopefully safe session the first time a person meets a Gestalt therapist. So it should be. So I hope it's with all the Gestalt practitioners.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's really beautiful. Well, Sandra's staying with us, and we're going to be back just after this.
Hi, I'm Amy Joy, and I'm the host of Get Your Together Live with Amy Joy. And you can catch me every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific on the amazing Trajectory channel right here on E360 TV.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. We are here with Sandra Stein, and we're talking about Gestalt therapy in particular. So, Sandra, how might someone get started in becoming a counsellor, and how do they know what therapy is right for them to specialise in? Because you also were exploring the different types.
Right, yeah. I guess, first of all, it's at least for me, it was a calling. I was always interested in how human works and how we relate to one another, how we are triggered, why we were triggered by other people or events. So I think there is that innate sense of curiosity about the other. That is one of the main, I think, characteristics that if you carry, this area of work would be just perfect if you carry that trait as somebody that cares for another person. And in terms of what the methodology, I would definitely do research, and you have psychoanalysis, psychodynamics, CBT, Gestalt, and what speaks to you. because I understand that some people make more sense of the world and they feel more comfortable in that cognitive behavioral level, which then is also very important. All these parts, again, as Gestalt, the cognitive, the behavioral, the emotion, the feelings, it's all what makes us. Yeah. They are still very, very efficient in how to help people to make sense of themselves and their being. So I would go out there, make a research, go to open days, ask as many questions as you can, and have fun. Really.
I love that. You're the first therapist on this show who said have fun. And I think that's really important, because it's so emotional when you're supporting and holding the anxieties of other people. You've got to enjoy what you're doing. You've got to have that curiosity. You've got to have that motivation. That's lovely. Sandra, would you mind either taking us through one of your favourite exercises or explaining one of your favourite tools, please?
All right. So Gestalt Therapy, it's renowned and most unique technique, which no other methodology has, is the 2-chair work or empty chair work. Is quite a cathartic kind of experiment that we do I either do on Zoom or I do in person.
Wow.
Is when someone either projects a sort of a neglected feeling or neglected part of themselves onto the chair and have a dialogue with that part of themselves, or when they put somebody else, a relative, a friend, or whoever they feel there is a misunderstanding or they not sort of seen eye to eye, and put on that chair and have a dialogue. It's a safe way where you feel in control to explore what's going on for you underneath your awareness, and also have a little bit of an access to what's going on for the other person, energy-wise, what's going on, how would feel to be on the other person's shoes. Because when you switch chairs and you sit on the chair where the person or the part is supposed to be, you have the access to how it would feel to be listening, to be receiving whatever it is that you're projecting.
I can see how powerful that can be. So if I get this right, so correct me if I'm wrong, the idea is you've got this empty chair, and this chair could be, say, I don't know, a father or something like that, and I'm explaining how I feel neglected. That chair doesn't respond. It's you just get out all of your feelings, and then you sit in the chair itself, and then reflect on how that felt. Yeah, great. I like that.
And it is a way why one of the reasons why the exercise is so cathartic is that the counselor hopefully will slow down the process and really track second by second how it feels like. How is it for you? What did you hear? No, that wasn't what I heard. So you can see how you get lost in what's real and is what is constructed by your hurt part of yourself.
Oh, that is incredible.
That's something new.
Yeah, so much skill in the counselling there as well. I can that breakdown and being able to pinpoint not only when that person is speaking, but actually when they're responding and reflecting. Absolutely. That's incredible work. Oh my goodness.
It really is. It sounds very powerful. Can I just further explore that really quickly? So then does the person receiving the counselling then take the place of the person that they're talking to?
Right.
Is that what happens? And then, so they might be then trying to understand the other person.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
wow.
Yeah, if the exercise goes as it's supposed to, but sometimes the person who is the client is so frozen or so stuck in whatever it is that they refuse to go to the other chair.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
So a new process begin.
Yes, and that's a whole new exploration that you have to lead then.
Yes, so that's a whole new, but it's still, the chair represents something that I don't want to be part of. I don't want to sit there. I don't want to be with this person.
Yeah.
want to be in this person's shoes.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's obviously a huge area where it differs from other types of therapy that, you know, we might be more familiar with. But are there other ways in which Gestalt therapy differs, and that you have different ways of approaching an issue?
Right. We work with dreams. In the way the psychoanalysis works with dreams. Because when we work with dream, we slow it down, we track the process, and for example, if the person dreams about the person comes to the session particularly interested about I don't know, a situation in the traffic, and they had a huge argument and this and that, so we encourage the person to be the different parts of that dream. So be the angry person. What's going on for you? What is the anger about? How does it feel for you to be angry about a stranger? Now be the stranger.
Okay, wow.
Be the road that's so hot because the sun is 35 degrees. Yeah. And how come that is something that's, you know, emphasized in your dream? So you become all the parts of it. So it's a very lived experience.
Yes.
And it also sounds quite, for want of a better word, a lot of hard work for the person receiving the counselling. You know, they've really got to go for it. They've really got to commit to the therapy and really want to work really hard as well.
Absolutely. And again, there is, you know, it's all about, I think in all methodologies, is about the therapy alliance.
Yes.
And if you conquer that with the client, if the client feels safe and encouraged and invited to be doing these exercises, you can go far, you can go a long way. But again, it has to be graded. It has to be, a good counselor would say, has to meet where the client is at.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you
Right.
can't push that client if they're not ready to go there.
They will be doing for the sake of whatever it is. They're not going to be doing for themselves. The session will be encouraging the non-real, non-authentic part of the client.
Yes, yes.
Exactly. So that kind of then leads on to, how do you approach a client who might have tried other therapies and just dismissed and said, oh, it doesn't work for me? How might Gestalt therapy work for them, or how might you explain that it's worth them exploring?
Oh, absolutely. I have had several clients came, did therapy somewhere else, and then they gave up, and then they struggling more in life, and then decided to give it another go. But I'm going to give an example, which is, you know, in my neighborhood, this client probably came from a somatic therapy of some kind, maybe even from a Gestalt therapy. And the first thing they said in the first session is that they tried this counseling some time ago, and it was about, tell me what you feel in your body. And the client said, what do you mean? So it felt very intrusive. And what do you mean? You know, some people need to be educated, psychoeducated, and explained, and really, you know, be walked gently in the introduction of the process. So with that client, I, of course, did not approach with the somatic approach for a long time.
Of course.
We went into it, but by the time we went into it, the client knew much more about my style, what a Gestalt is, and we had a rapport which is like this. So he trusted me.
That's fantastic, because I suppose you started off by saying that some people have closed off parts to themselves. So if somebody's closed off emotionally and somebody says, you know, what's your body feeling? That's a non-starter, if that's where you start from.
Absolutely. Yeah, I reflect on my own, you know, being a trainee in the Gestalt room, and being asked to, you know, what parts of your body do you feel right now? And I feel nothing. I mean... My legs are my legs, my arms are my arms, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be quite confusing.
Yeah, totally. I can see that. And do you think that might then be one reason why there's such a stigma around therapy? And do you find that there is still a stigma? And how can we kind of break that?
Okay, yeah. Well, that's one of the work I do on social media, and I hope, I have even if a little impact, is to promote that therapy is not just about psychological and emotional issues that is presenting itself, but is about also knowing yourself better. It's nurturing a relationship with yourself and therefore with others too. So you don't particularly have to be going through something serious in your life, but it is also about looking after yourself and, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, psychological self-intelligence. And definitely there is still a lot of stigma about therapy. And I think it exists more in the minority groups, such as men. I have few clients that are male identifying people, and it took a long time for them to come to therapy. And members from LGBT also, it's taken them a long time to say to themselves, you know what, there's no problem in being vulnerable and be open, and say that, okay, I'm struggling. And men particularly, they carry out this stigma of I must be, strong, I must not show weakness, and this emotion thing, it doesn't work. And from other people, it's about the fear of getting lost onto the unknown. I have coped so far, moving forward. Why do I want to explore my fears of rejection, of abandonment?
Yes. And then if you're with a therapist who maybe you don't have that sort of rapport with, and you can get lost, because if the wrong questions are asked when you're not ready, and it maybe puts you off even coming back, then that can be even worse for someone. So I think what you've said about psychoeducation is a huge point there, Sandra, because that is exactly what we try and do with this show. It's clearly what you're doing is why your work is so important. You are staying with us, and we're going to be back just after this.
Welcome back to the show with Sandra. It's a fascinating topic, this. And on your website, you cover some really, really brilliant topics. And I wondered if you could maybe give us an insight now about putting boundaries in at work, specifically in the workplace, and especially for freelancers where it might be a bit more difficult.
It is difficult, yes. I am, self-employed, so my clinic and everything else that I do is my work, and I understand how sometimes putting boundary in and having to earn, they sort of conflict in some ways. For example, not seeing clients on the weekends. Sometimes I have to, because the client needs and because I need, or because it's something that has to be done. But I do believe in disconnecting completely to recharge your brain. I believe in doing things fun on the weekends with people that you love. There's nothing better than connecting with people that make you forget about how serious the world is sometimes, and just having a laughter. I believe disconnecting from the phone,
Yes.
free from the screen, and eating well, practicing exercise. All these things are things that are a part of my well-being, my practice to be a good therapist, because then on Monday I'm recharged, I can be present, I'm there refreshed with my clients. And boundaries, in terms of boundaries, I think clients, and I think that's very helpful for the clients also, that they need to understand that they have the power, that the knowledge is inside them, that they can learn to trust themselves when they're not with the therapist, that the therapist is not a coach that is that 24/7 to respond and exchange text messages, because then the reliance on the client, you giving of the client onto the therapist, you're giving your power as a client to somebody else to make decisions for you, to walk your life for you. And that's not what therapy is about. A therapy is about empowering you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's helping you to trust yourself and feel secure under your skin.
Yeah, so it's like you say, it's handing the power back to the client for them to be able to make their own decisions and continue that way.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the other topic that caught my eye was the social media, where issues arise with seeing other people's stories, other people's perfect lives. How do you use social media as a tool, but kind of avoid the other side of it?
Right. I was thinking about this the other day. Social media, it's a tool. It's a tool like the phone is a tool, right?
Yeah.
For us to connect, to call, to put on a calendar and stuff. But then if you spend your whole time on it, then it becomes something that is maladaptive rather than constructive. And social media, I mean, if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't be able to do this. And
That is true.
I wouldn't be able to be giving free advices for whatever it is worth, or free guidance on my Instagram and YouTube. So there is a beauty about being able to reach to people, but also there is a misuse, which is people are forgetting to or disconnecting from their own lives to then be living on somebody else's lives or dreams or fantasy.
Yes.
Yes.
That when you use a tool instead of building a beautiful house or a beautiful castle, you're harming yourself with that.
I think this really, again, demonstrates your knowledge and your expertise as a therapist. That really comes across, because you use social media as a tool, you connect with people, but there is a saturation of advice and Instagrammers and influencers out there, and that must get so frustrating. How do you establish your credentials and your clear knowledge in this vast, almost tsunami of, oh, you must eat kale, oh, you must do, the plank for 50 minutes a day kind of thing? How do you differentiate yourself?
The quick fixes, right? I'm very annoyed with them. You don't get this. But yes, it is not. Let me say this very honestly. As a therapist, that I am, and I'm as a health practitioner, it's hard for me to be authentic to my philosophy and to my morals and ethics. And then be the kind of popular Instagram accounts.
Interesting.
For what I observe, I might be wrong, but for what I observe, the most popular Instagram accounts are those quick phrases, quick hits. How to find the person you can marry. Who should you marry? The person that you should marry should carry these 5 traits. And it's like, I wish the world would be a happier place. How to fix your anxiety with 3 quick, I mean, I didn't, otherwise I would be out of the job. But it's, for me, is a struggle because I want to keep my authentic counselor identity, as well as I want people to have access to what I want to share, but I might not be as attractive as somebody else that's got a quick fix.
I love that. And I think that's, again, a really important reminder for everybody who is practicing with the academic and the experiential credentials compared. Your point about there is a difference between being popular and actually imparting healthy, useful knowledge is absolutely key. So thank you for that reminder. With that, and with all of the, I guess, demands sometimes with social media and life, you've mentioned a few things that you do to look after your own mental health, but how do you protect your own mental well-being when you're containing other people's anxieties, when you are perhaps in that world of marketing but still using it in the authentic way that's right for you? How do you look after yourself?
Practically, or part of my clinical practice is I have my supervision. I need to have my supervision, so I unload the energy onto somebody else.
Yeah.
Got more experience and can hold me and can look after me. And also I have private therapy because I have my own process. I'm a human.
Yes.
And I'm healing, and I am going through my own journeys, and I have all these multiple parts, complicated parts of me that I need to, befriend and have a communication with. And those are two, for me, clinically speaking, the most important pillars. I also have peer supervision, which I meet with other counselors and we discuss cases, always keeping confidentiality of the client, but sharing expertise with people from other school of thoughts, because then I like integrating a little bit of everything in my work.
Amazing. That sounds really interesting, actually. So you can kind of listen to others and incorporate that into your own practice. I love that. And at the risk then of, and we're definitely not, giving 3 really quick, easy fixes, but can you give us maybe your top 3 tips of looking after our own well-being?
Yes, I can. Well, quick fix. Everything is consistency, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is consistency. So when you're doing therapy, it's not, one session is about the consistency of exploring, be there with yourself and improving and going through the pain, going through the discomfort. So one of the main thing is exercise. I love my exercise.
Wow.
Is when I'm with me, is when I'm not in my brain, I am in my body.
Love that.
My meditation work is tailored for myself. Guided meditation or emptying my mind never worked. So I talk to the parts of me that need attention that day, at that time. Yeah. It might be my 12-year-old, it might be my 25-year-old, whoever needs my attention. Or sometimes I send gratitude to the universe, what I'm grateful for.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. So exercise, kind of meditation, talking to your parts of yourself and connecting with nature and the universe.
Yes.
Lovely.
And the third one, what is the third one? Connecting with people that makes you feel good and feel well, and friends and healthy people. Because as part of Gestalt, we talk about co-creation, the co-creation of an environment, and you can only do that with somebody else, with another human being. And sometimes when we're very low and depressed and anxious, and you talk with someone that comes with the different energy, things can balance themselves out.
Yes.
So I do reach out to friends that I think you will attend that need, and I just have a heart-to-heart chat. I look after myself that way too.
It's just fantastic. Really great advice. Thank you very much. And where can we learn more about what you do?
You can go to my Instagram, which I don't have the web page in my head.
We'll put it on the show notes. It's okay.
Thank you. That's how much into social media I am. And I have my website. Those two are the two main sources of getting information of, how to live life more emotionally and psychologically intelligent and connected, and also about my work.
Oh, Sandra, you have been one of the most authentic conversations and therapists we've spoken to. It's just been such a joy to speak with you and learn from you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hello there. Business Boost is in a slightly different location because I wanted to come back to my desk to talk about the difference between therapy and coaching. And this is quite important to me because I'm trained as a coach. I'm not a trained clinician. Sandra, our guest today, is a trained clinician. What therapists do is they work with you to get you from not okay to okay. And they do so in many different styles. You've got the classical types of therapy, psychoanalysis. You've got CBT. You've got behavior therapy. You've got the third wave therapies, somatic healing, EMDR, EFT, dialectic behavior therapy. There is many, many different forms of support out there. Gestalt falls under the more classical therapies and it falls under the humanistic branch. And what I love about humanism, it's all about unconditional acceptance of the person. However, what therapy does, as I said, move you from not okay to okay. What coaching does is it moves you from okay to thriving. We as coaches don't cover the issues that therapy looks at. And it is possible to have somebody undergoing therapy and undergoing coaching at the same time. If I find someone needs to explore something, say it comes up in coaching, that perhaps therapy would be more suitable for, I tend to press pause on my coaching, let them explore what they need to explore with therapy, and then come back to coaching when they're ready. Because as they uncover what happens in therapy, and that may affect their priorities, it may affect their outlook, it may affect what they've come to coaching for. So sometimes the two of them, whilst they can run simultaneously, it's not best to run them simultaneously. So that's what I would do with coaching. But where I take somebody as a coach is we may reflect on things that have happened in the past, because that may affect your limiting beliefs. It may affect your behaviors moving forwards, but we don't spend a lot of time uncovering them, reflecting on them, analyzing them, and so on. So different work gets done. The other difference between coaching and therapy is that therapy tends to be an ongoing relationship, and you and the therapist agree as to when it's time to move on to, say, 2 weekly sessions or monthly sessions. But with coaching, it tends to be on a block of 4 to 6 sessions, work through what you need to work through, take a break, and then you can come back after that. Almost the reason for that is therapy is an ongoing process, but coaching is goal orientated, which means that actually, if you become codependent on the coach, we're probably not doing our job very well. So understand what it is you need. Often, if there are things to look at which are going to help you fundamentally, psychologically, and perhaps change your outlook, it may well be therapy that's better for you. However, if you're at a certain position, feel a bit stuck, you want to move forward, coaching may be more appropriate. However, as our guest said, as many of our guests have said, and as I would say myself, we always give a free consultation to decide whether coaching or therapy or whatever it is you're looking for is suitable for you. And in that consultation, we as coaches or as therapists will also reflect on whether we are suitable. Because if we're not, we can signpost you. So use that as a fact-finding time. Is this right for me? What am I trying to achieve? Can I achieve it with this person? It's okay for you to say, do you know what? I don't think this type of therapy or this type of coaching or even our rapport is appropriate or quite right or helpful. And it is possible to go somewhere else. So we're back to the last part of the show again, reflection time. There's so much to think about.
Yeah, it was hugely fascinating. So much information.
Yes.
And yeah, Sandra was just really, really interesting to listen to.
I think so. And what came across to me was about the psychoeducation, how it's so important to explain to clients either this is what this therapy is about and this is how this therapy works, but also with the exercises you're doing with clients, especially for those therapies that use exercises, to guide you through it. This is what you might expect. This is what might happen. And I think when you're so used to practicing, you forget that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that came across actually was when Sandra said that, you know, one of her clients has said that a previous therapist has said, tell me what you're feeling. That might be obvious to the therapist, but that's such an open, massive question to somebody. They might be feeling nothing. They might have forgotten how to feel. So there's so much just in that small question. It's not really a small question.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's a reminder to all therapists, coaches, even I have to, because I don't do a lot of coaching anymore. Because I don't enjoy one-to-one as much. I keep very limited clients. But anytime I get a new client, I always have to explain to them, there's nurturing coaches and there's challenging coaches. I am a challenging coach. I will say things bluntly. I will say things that get to the point. And if you want someone to kind of hold that anxiety, yes, I can do it, but I won't do it as much as a different type of coach. So I preface a lot of that. But it's difficult to remember.
Yeah, and that's good because you're explaining to your client how you work, and they can either choose to go with it or not. Yes. And I imagine most of them do, because people really respond to calling a spade, I think, quite a lot of the time.
Some do, but it is about, and then that happens in the free consultation, by the way. It doesn't happen once you've already committed. But it is one of those things where I think if some clients really don't want that, you get to know about it. They'll say the time's not right.
I suppose a lot of people might need a more handheld approach, and if that's not the way you work, then it's good to know that at the beginning before you start.
Yes, and this is about, I think, the therapeutic relationship that she talks about, which again we forget, because it's like if you're going into battle with someone. I've always seen therapy or counselling or coaching even. It's not like, oh, I'm helping you with your problem. I wear the white coat and I'm special and you're not. It's like, no, you're both going into battle together to fight whatever it is the clients come to you with as the demon. And you've got to know who you've got on your side.
Exactly. It's not one is doing everything and the client is the passive person. You're kind of walking through it together, like you say, you're approaching it together. So you've got to be able to have that partnership.
Yeah. So I think this week, if you've had a good experience with therapy or a bad experience with therapy, share your experiences in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And have a healthy week.